Alabama LSU in a playoff elimination game. Who will prevail? Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Chris Gordy here with you, coming to you from the campus of LSU ahead of the big matchup between LSU and Alabama, a de facto playoff elimination game. But thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Of course, today's episode presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And a reminder, every new customer of FanDuel with a $5 bet, if you win, you can get $150 in bonus bets. That's at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sports book. All right, before we get into the LSU-Alabama matchup, we got to preview some of the other big games going on around the SEC this weekend. And we're going to start at 11 a.m. Central on ABC. It is 4-4 Florida at number 5 Texas. And FanDuel's got Texas as a 21.5 point home favorite. Texas leads the all-time series 2-0, but they have not played each other since 1940. The big question in this one is, will DJ Lagway go for Florida? If not, it's going to be the Yale transfer quarterback Aiden Warner. And Billy Napier obviously getting some assurance this week that he will return in 2025 as the head coach of the Florida Gators. So you wonder how much, with the pressure off of him, does he feel a little bit relieved, or does this inspire him more? Hey, we got to go bust our ass and prove that, we definitely deserve to get an extension and be here long term. Now, Texas, on one hand, they did lose wide receiver Jonte Cook this week, but Cook has not really contributed much in recent weeks. They lost him to dismissal of the team. But you have DeAndre Moore, you got Isaiah Bond, you got Ryan Wingo, plenty of weapons for Quinn Ewers to get the ball to. Texas, they've outscored opponents this season 70-17 in the first quarter this year. So we're going to know very early on if Florida can keep this one close. They just did it with Georgia, keep in mind, just a week ago. So Austin Armstrong, that defense has been playing much better in better weeks. Remember the close loss against Tennessee. They were lights out against UCF. So we will see. But Texas's defense ranks number 1 in the SEC, allowing 11.5 points per game, one of the best in the nation. And all 4 of Florida's losses have been against teams that were ranked top 10 at some point this season. So they've lost to good teams. Texas is a good team. The question is, can Florida cover? Look, I have no faith in Aiden Warner, the quarterback. He came from Yale. No offense to the kid, but I don't think he can get it done in this one. I would take Texas minus the 21.5 to cover, with it being at home in Austin. But if DJ Lagway plays, even with the strained hamstring, I think there's a chance they can keep this one close. So we'll obviously monitor that with DJ Lagway and see, will he be a game-time decision or will he not go? In the afternoon, we get the big one, 2:30 Central on ABC. It is number 3 Georgia at number 16 Ole Miss. And this is one of those where Georgia is the road favorite. FanDuel got them at minus 2.5. Now, Ole Miss's playoff hopes are on the line already with 2 losses. Rebels' injury report this week was long. Now, some people are saying maybe this is gamesmanship from Lane Kiffin. But wide receiver Trey Harris, who has not played in a couple of weeks, he's listed as doubtful. And then their big star receiver, Jordan Watkins, from a week ago, he's listed as doubtful. They've already listed starting running back Henry Parrish as out. Backup running back Matt Jones listed as doubtful. So this is, to me, Dominic Thomas, who came on last week. It's going to be key for him. They're going to have to run the football. To beat Georgia, they have to be balanced. And if they don't have a run game to complement Jackson Dart, they are in trouble. Now, for Georgia, Smile Munden, he's questionable. D lineman Jordan Hall is probable. But to me, this comes down to Georgia quarterback Carson Beck. Back-to-back 3 interception games for him. He's got 11 interceptions on the season now. And Jackson Dart's coming off of a game where he just set Ole Miss passing records and total offense records. So really big matchup for the Georgia defense versus this Ole Miss offense. I've seen several of you in our comments saying, yeah, look, Jackson Dart, when he gets into big games against big-time defenses, he kind of shirks in the moment, and he comes back down to earth. So does the Georgia defense, how well do they play containing Jackson Dart? If he's got no run game to lean on, they're in trouble. Now, for Georgia, Trevor Etienne's been banged up and having a rib injury, and if he can't go, is it going to be Nate Frazier, the true freshman, to emerge? But to me, Carson Beck has to take care of the football. Look, it's great that he's thrown 3 interceptions in 2 straight games and Georgia's won by 2 touchdowns or more. I just don't know if they can do it here. Georgia is 10-6 in Oxford, and their senior class, by the way, 49-3 with all 3 losses in their career to Alabama. I don't think that Ole Miss gets it done. I think Georgia wins a close one in Oxford, but I think Georgia gets it done against Ole Miss. Give me Georgia minus the 2.5. Later into the afternoon, 3:15 Central on the SEC Network. Kind of the sneaky good matchup. 5-3 South Carolina at 6-3 Vanderbilt. South Carolina a 4.5-point home favorite. Look, we keep joking. When's Vegas going to learn? Stop underrating Vandy. Vandy is good, yet every week they seem to be an underdog, and they're either covering the spread or winning outright, which is what they've done more than anything this year. But South Carolina leads the all-time series 29-4. South Carolina's defense against a Vanderbilt offense that leads the SEC in playing keep away. Their average time of possession is over 32 minutes, almost 32 and a half minutes. Diego Pavia just gets that ball. They keep moving the chains, and they just keep eating up clock, and they play keep away and keep you from having scoring opportunities. Now, Lenore Sellers coming off throwing a career-high 244 yards with 2 touchdowns last week in the win over A&M. Diego Pavia, he ranks 4th in the SEC with 15 touchdown passes, and he has helped score 118 points. That is 3rd in the SEC with 151.9 passing efficiency. South Carolina has won 15 straight in the series. The Gamecocks have won 22 of the last 24. Now, Vanderbilt's 3 losses this season are by a combined 10 points. This isn't your mom and dad's Vanderbilt team. This is a very good Vanderbilt team. Clark Lee's done an outstanding job. Man, I really want to take Vanderbilt plus the 4.5. Even if South Carolina wins, I think it's close, but I'm leaning Vandy in the straight-up upset here. At home in Nashville, I know there's not much home field advantage there, but it's a place that they have played well this year. And, you know, they lost to Texas by just 3 2 weeks ago. I'm going to take Vanderbilt. Big letdown spot for South Carolina. Now, look, if the Gamecocks get it done and they improve to, 6-3, fantastic save of a season for Shane Beamer after missing a bowl game last year. Fantastic. You feel great about Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders and all those guys, and we'll see what they can do down the stretch of the season. But I can't keep questioning Vanderbilt. I'm going to take Vandy and Diego Pavia to get it done. Into the evening, 7 Eastern on ESPN is 2-7 Mississippi State at number 7 Tennessee. The Vols 23.5-point home favorites. Mississippi State, though, they can score. They're averaging 29 points a game. Michael Van Buren's kind of giving them a shot in the arm as the quarterback. Bulldogs' defense giving up close to 35 points a game, though. They are not just bad. They are putrid. They are really missing the leadership of those guys they had last year, like Jet Johnson and all those stud linebackers that they had. Jalen Milroe is the only quarterback to start and finish a game against Tennessee's defense this year. That doesn't spell good things for Mississippi State and Michael Van Buren. But, look, again, can Mississippi State maybe cover that number and score some points? Sure. But I'm a believer in the Tennessee defense. I just think that they're going to get it done. State running backs Devon Booth and Johnny Daniels both provide the bulk of the work in the running game, averaging 143 yards. But dating back to last year's Citrus Bowl win over Iowa, Tennessee has held 9 straight opponents under 20 points. I don't think Mississippi State's getting to 20 points this week. And the Vols rank in the top 10 nationally in 12 different categories. And Dylan Sampson, their running back, has a school record 19 rushing touchdowns this season. Mississippi State has scored 8 touchdowns of 30-plus yards this season, so big plays. For Tennessee, they have allowed 5 plays of 30 yards or longer this season on the whole year. So I think Tennessee's defense shows them and gets it done. I think Dylan Sampson has a big day. I think Nico Iamaleava has a big day. I would lean Tennessee to cover those points. And Tennessee takes care of business, gets ready for a big, massive game against Georgia coming up next week. Also into the evening, 6:45 Central on the SEC Network. It's 5-4 Oklahoma at number 24 Missouri. Oklahoma, a 2.5-point road favorite. Oklahoma does lead this all-time series 67-24-5. This is a traditional rivalry that was big in the Big 12, and they've been playing for a long time. First time we're going to see this matchup as 2 SEC teams take on each other. But Oklahoma and Missouri, they've played each other since 1902. This rivalry dates back to long-standing rivalry, first time as SEC foes. Oklahoma and Missouri, they have not played each other since September of 2011. To me, this one's very simple. If Brady Cook's not going for Mizzou and it's going to be Drew Pine, I'm taking Oklahoma. They seem to get right these last couple weeks or look better against Ole Miss, right, with the firing of the OC. They went back to Jackson Arnold at quarterback. Played Maine last week, I get it, but they started to show some signs of life on offense. Running back Javante Barnes ran for a career-high 203 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Mizzou, they were shut out by Alabama for the first time since Eli Drinkwitz has been their head coach. Luther Burden, look, he's good. He's caught a pass in 30 consecutive games. I think he's great. But to me, this is one I think Vegas knows something. I think Oklahoma goes on the road and wins one at Mizzou. And Mizzou, we start looking at it and going, man, if they were just healthy, right? If Brady Cook had been healthy against Alabama, they would have had a chance maybe to keep that one close. He wasn't. Drew Pine was awful, threw 3 interceptions. If Drew Pine goes against Oklahoma, I think Danny Stutzman, that Oklahoma defense, starts licking their chops, and I think that Mizzou or Oklahoma gets it done on the road at Mizzou. So there you have it. That is your SEC slate. Of course, the big game of the week we're going to end up previewing coming up next, as we'll preview number 11 Alabama at number 15 LSU. More Locked On SEC coming up after this. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. More Locked On SEC in just a second, but when you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for your role. That's why you got to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professional like a professional on LinkedIn. Go post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Go post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Rolling along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys so much for making us your first listen every day. As we get into previewing the big matchup of the weekend, it is Alabama versus LSU, a de facto playoff game. And joining us now, our buddy Jerit Roser from On3 Sports now, the Bengal Tiger, covering all things LSU. Jerit, thanks for joining us, man.
Happy to be here, man. Sorry for running a minute late for you.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. So as we get into this game, I mean, obviously, last time we saw LSU, we saw Garrett Nussmeier have probably his worth half of football he's had with 3 interceptions at Texas A&M. Alabama coming off of possibly their most complete game of the year, the shutout of Missouri. Talk me through where you kind of view both these teams right here.
Yeah, this is a matchup that I had honestly felt pretty confident about LSU for most of the season until the way they both headed into the bye is the most concerned I've been for the Tigers all season. But I think what we've seen from both of them kind of epitomizes college football and the struggle for anyone to seem to find consistency right now. I mean, not just from week to week, but half to half. And so I think going into the bye is nice for the Tigers, kind of reset. They've done a nice job under Brian Kelly of shaking back from losses, coming out of byes and playing well. And they obviously get to play in the stadium behind us. So there's a lot of reasons to be confident that Nussmeier will shake off some of those miscues, that you're not going to look like you've never seen a quarterback run the football like they did in the second half against Texas A&M, and go into a matchup against an Alabama team that, while still really good, has obviously shown its own vulnerabilities throughout the season, including 0-2 to start on the road in the SEC.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you make of that? I mean, the Kalen DeBoer era, look, Nick Saban, the book is closed. It's gone. This is Kalen DeBoer's team. Still a lot of Nick Saban players, but he has not won a road game yet in the SEC. They beat Wisconsin in the non-conference, but 0-2 on the road in the SEC so far. And you're coming to Death Valley. Last time Alabama was here, they did not win. So to me, this is a big test on the Alabama side. If Kalen DeBoer, if he takes his 3rd loss already, look, transition year be damned, the Alabama faithful are going to be really questioning if this is the guy.
Yeah, I'm not as tapped into Alabama and the fan base and whatnot all year long the way you and the crew over at Locked On is, but even from afar, I've seen Alabama fans be pretty feisty pretty quickly with the way some things have gone this season. And so if you're exactly right, if they come in here and lose and are 0-3 on the road in the SEC and have that 3rd loss here, it's going to be something that is really tough for fans that are used to an extremely high standard of winning to swallow right now. And I think LSU fans would love nothing more than that to be the case.
You cover recruiting. Obviously, Caden Durham was a big-time recruit for LSU, and we've seen him kind of emerge as their leading rushers. They still haven't run the football consistently, but this is an Alabama defensive front that I think 3rd worst in the SEC against the run. So as much as the narrative has been LSU can't run the football, I think you almost have to force it this week and see what you could do with Durham.
That's an area for me that I'm watching. I think you look at in a game like this where it is two good teams, two teams that have shown some vulnerabilities, and so you want to see some of those third down situations and turnovers and all the basics. But I think LSU has to find a way to establish some level of balance offensively, not put Nussmeier in situations where he feels like anything that they're going to get has to come off of him forcing some things to happen, and also to put him in some more favorable down and distances on some of those third downs. Durham would be huge. Anything that they can get to sort of add some balance that they haven't seen much of this year will be, I think, one of the critical things to watch Saturday.
Sounds like at least CJ Daniels still a little bit banged up, still fighting through the stuff, but for LSU at least, Kyron Lacey's emerged as a stud, and really Aaron Anderson, who I look at this game a year ago, Nick Saban's coming up to him after the game going, well, hey man, you should have never left. You'd be a star here. You'd be playing more. And here we are a year later. Aaron Anderson has emerged as a big-time threat for LSU. Seems to be, I got to think in the back of his mind, he wants to have a big day in this game.
Absolutely. And he's had a great season here thus far. You use that word emerging. That's something I've used in a lot of stories about Aaron so far this season. It's a group that knew they came into the season with a level of reliability in Kyron Lacey, and we're just waiting to see who of a lot of other great options would step up and be kind of the number 2 and number 3 guys. Aaron's really done a nice job in that regard, and they have other weapons. CJ, if he's healthy, Chris Hilton finally healthy, a guy that is as talented as anyone in the core, and so he has a chance to maybe make some big plays in some spots. I feel really confidently that LSU can move the ball through the air against this Alabama team.
I mentioned you cover recruiting for On 3. I got to think there's going to be a ton of visitors in town for this one, right?
Yeah, I've been tapped into recruiting in a variety of ways through the years, and have kids that I've been covering since they were in middle school that are asking me, hey, how do I get to this LSU game? And telling them, look, talking to the coaches, you're a sophomore, and this is a really hot ticket on a national scale right now with 5 stars from all over the country coming to town. And so it should be electric from a fan base standpoint, and then in terms of the energy of a lot of really talented guys who are either planning to come to LSU next year or still kind of making some college decisions. It's going to be really electric on the sidelines pregame as well.
Is there a big name of somebody who's going to be here?
I think Bryce Underwood, the 5-star quarterback, being back in town is really big. There's a DJ Pickett, a 5-star commit. All of the LSU commits are pretty much in town. And then I know hearing that an Ohio State Buckeyes commit and Naeem Offord, who is continued to be recruited by Corey Raymond being in town, it was a pretty big news tidbit this week. But that visitors list is going to be long and impressive.
Speaking of making the news, we hear the news yesterday that when you and I were in school, Mike the Tiger would make an appearance at these games. It's been a long time since he has, but apparently the governor of Louisiana is bringing in an outside Tiger to come in and bring into the stadium. What's the latest here?
Yeah, I don't know if we even have time to fully unpack whatever the heck is going on in that regard. It was a story that LouisianaSports.net and our buddy Matt Moscona and company reported first this week, and everyone immediately jumped on because there are a lot of details of the fact that Governor Jeff Landry has wanted the Tiger back in the stadium. There are, for well-documented reasons, hesitations to bring Mike the Tiger, the actual mascot of LSU, over there. And so apparently he's found, I think in Florida, a just random tiger to get to Louisiana.
His name's Omar, right?
Yeah, Omar Bradley, the tiger from Florida, who I don't know what the rules are of transporting or renting exotic animals,
right.
But it seems like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, get the Tiger King out of jail, man. Let's get Joe Exotic a pardon, and let's get him to traffic the Tiger over here. It is funny, though, to your point, like if it's Mike the Tiger, like just his habitat's right over here, just put a live camera in there and give him the roar. I don't understand like why we have to bring a tiger in front of 100,000 people.
It was a lot of fun, obviously. We enjoyed it a lot as young students
right.
and young fans growing up with that being a part of the equation, but there's a lot of stuff of years past that we don't really do anymore for a lot of good reason.
Yeah, they poke him with a stick to get him to roar.
Some of that obviously even then seemed to cross a line. And I don't know that we need a tiger in the stadium. I think, again, it can be really fun to have that if it makes sense. It's been well documented the reasons why they don't do it anymore, though.
Right.
Apparently those reasons be damned right now for Jeff Landry.
Well, Jerit Roser, it is officially time. Give us your prediction. How does this one play out?
I like LSU in this one still. Honestly, one of the things that worries me most is Garrett Dellinger not being available when we talk about the need to establish some of that run game. And so there's going to be a lot of spotlight on the redshirt freshman Paul Mubenga. But I think this is an LSU team that's going to have the opportunity to move the ball a bit against this Alabama team, is going to play better against Milroe with 2 weeks to prepare for the situation than what we saw them handling Marcel Reed, the freshman. And so I think LSU has the chance to possibly open it up. I don't expect that. I think it'll be a close game, and I think on 3, I picked LSU 34-30.
Not bad. 34-30. That's a lot of scoring in this one, but I think you're right. I think you're onto something. I think this isn't the old dominant Bama defenses. No. LSU, they've had their defensive issues. I think we're going to have a lot of points. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Bengal Tiger on 3. I have Louisiana versus all y'all as well, that I do a lot more of my statewide recruiting, kind of get a chance to shout out some more prospects from around Louisiana outside of just the guys that we're covering who are coming to LSU. And we'll be all over both of those platforms all Saturday.
Jerit, great stuff. More Locked On SEC coming your way right after this. More Locked On SEC in just a second. We'll remind you guys today's episode is presented to you by Robinhood Gold. And look, with Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on an uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. This episode also presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And look, you can get ready to tackle NFL or college action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and college all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, they got all the college games up there, including all the SEC action. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Been a few years since you've been here. Welcome back. What's it like being back here at LSU?
I mean, this is one of the great places for college football, the intensity, the passion, the emotion, all of the things. And now they tell me there's going to be a bootleg Tiger on the sideline. Now, I'm not calling him. What's his name? No, it's not. It's bootleg Mike. That's what he's bootleg Mike. And so I don't know, but I'm excited. I'm excited about all of these things we're doing. But look, I love coming to this place. It's we overuse the word unique because something's either unique or it's not. There aren't any degrees of it. But this place is unique, and it's a wonderful place to see college football. And when you have the added intensity of a de facto elimination game for two programs that have defined excellence in the SEC for nearly 20 years, if not longer, then I think there's a lot of intensity and a great theater coming our way on Saturday morning and Saturday night.
You're excited for this Tiger?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really think that he needs to be let loose to run amok, although I hear that he has some escapability, which both quarterbacks could probably use. I've heard that this bootleg Mike has escaped his locale, his habitat on a couple of occasions, so we'll certainly hope that doesn't happen again on Saturday night because, I can't help you ask me a question like that and I start rambling because I heard myself starting to talk like Mike Leach, who's a great friend of Mike's. Well, of course, then you're going to have all manner of problem if the Tiger actually gets loose because, what would you do if confronted with a loose Tiger? And, so anyway, let's hope he stays in there. But, yeah, I think this is kind of a good thing. This is kind of a good thing as long as the Tiger doesn't get loose.
Are you expecting kind of the same level of intensity as this game always is, especially with the important implications that are at stake?
Well, I think they, as Keith Jackson once said, these two just plain don't like each other. You know what I mean? There's a mutual respect there, obviously, but the stakes have been so high when they've played over the years, and now both of them have stumbled a couple of times and have left themselves basically no room for error. LSU probably has a little more room, but then it would take a really specific set of circumstances for them to get into the SEC championship game, because only one of their losses has been in conference. Alabama has no room for error. So I think because of that, the stakes may feel a little different. This is not, the 2019 game or, either the 2011 games, but your goals and dreams hang in the balance just as they did then. So I think because of that, it will be every bit of the intensity that one has come to expect from Alabama and LSU.
LSU struggled against Jalen Milroe last year, and they struggled against Marcel Reed 2 weeks ago. I guess, what do you think is going to take, or who is it going to take to stop Jalen Milroe on Saturday?
Well, I mean, they'll just have to do a better job accounting for the quarterback and not getting fooled. We just did film room on Ole Miss's defensive line. It was not an issue for LSU, but some of the plays were against LSU. And Ole Miss's defensive front did a really good job of disguising things, of blowing up running plays in the backfield. Obviously, LSU didn't do a very good job accounting for the quarterback in either the Texas A&M or the South Carolina game, for that matter. And they're at the bottom of the conference in terms of defending design quarterback runs. So, when you have a guy like Milroe, who's the fastest or second fastest guy on their entire team, and went for 155 yards and accounted for 4 touchdowns against them last year, they know what he can do. So it's not as if he's going to catch them unaware. So that's the first order of business for the LSU defense, is to take that part away, make Jalen Milroe beat you in the short to intermediate passing game. He can beat you over the top. He can beat you running. See if you can make him do those other things. And if they can do that and create some negative plays, which they've gotten much better at under Blake Baker, I think that bodes well for LSU. We just went into the LSU football building and to tape the film room. It's one of the few segments other than features that we shoot in advance and don't do live. And as we were walking into the football building, he said, I designed this and I've never been in it. And so we walked in, and I think he was going to see BK, and he was going to get a tour, of the building. And I know they've remodeled and added on some things since then, but the building was his brainchild. And, the thing is, and I hope I don't get things thrown at me, of the multitude of things that make him the greatest coach in the history of college football. Obviously, the championships are on the top of the list because nobody's ever won more. But, and I don't mean this disparagingly at all, he fixed this place. I mean, I grew up in the South. LSU, never consistent, could never sustain. For 50 years, it was a coaching graveyard, and he fixed it. And to me, right there with the championships is the fact that he built a foundation here that has been sustainable for other coaches. Now, that's not to say that Les and Ed and now BK aren't very capable coaches. They deserve the credit for what they accomplished themselves. I'm not trying to give all of that credit to Nick. I'm just saying that the foundation of fixing it allowed them to be successful, where for half a century they really couldn't do it consistently. And I think because of that, I think there will be a lot of appreciation shown to him, and I think he has incredibly fond memories of his time as the head coach of the Tigers.
Rece, not to be Debbie Downer, but you guys lost an honorary member of your crew this week with Ben. How's Kirk holding up and kind of pushing through it?
Well, I haven't seen him in person yet because he did the NFL game last night. But we were texting, and I think anybody who has loved a pet understands that relationship. But I think the relationship that Kirk had with Ben transcended that a little bit. It was more than just having a pet. He was his friend, and Ben was such a dog with sweet disposition. I think he took to me because I was always willing to give him a bite from my plate, only when Kirk wasn't looking, because sometimes that was against the rules. But he was such a sweet dog. We all loved having him around. I mean, I called the LSU USC game this year, and we had a 3-man booth, me, Kirk, and Ben. Ben went to sleep on my feet, during that game at times. So we'll miss him, and Kirk. It was an emotional thing for their entire family, as we all can understand, because we've all dealt with that type of loss when you develop a relationship with a pet and his time comes to an end. It's a difficult thing.
Have you talked to Nick since you guys have gotten here, and how is he sort of feeling about being back?
Like I was saying earlier, I think we've spent time. We've had the meeting, and we taped the film room earlier. So I think he's enjoying being back. They still have tremendous friends here and great memories of their time in Baton Rouge. So I think he's excited to be here. He joked in the meeting. He goes, "First time in 20 years I've been on this campus and haven't been tiger bait." So it's I think he's excited to be here, and we'll have a great show tomorrow.
You saw LSU against USC in week 1. I guess what have you seen from them as far as growth through the ups and the downs throughout the season to where they are now?
Well, I think. They've made certainly some progress on defense. They've settled into their identity, and that's not to be unexpected because, new coordinator, new system, you can learn it all, but then having the game rep experience is a different deal. Unfortunate that they lost Harold Perkins, but in some ways it probably solidified some roles. Now, I don't want that misconstrued. You are not better without that guy. I mean, that guy's a superstar. But maybe because everybody had to pick up the slack and everybody had a defined role, and you're later in the season, I think you've seen a great deal of improvement. I mean, Whit Weeks is a whirling dervish of havoc, so he's been terrific. And that's where I see the biggest growth. I mean, obviously, Garrett didn't have his best game against Texas A&M, or his best second half, but he's a dude now. I mean, he's never seen a throw he doesn't believe he can make, and I'm here for it because I love watching him show that confidence in his arm, and he's a terrific player who's just going to keep getting better and better. I mean, I think because he's been on the team for a while. What is this, start number 10? It's only his 10th starts, not even a full season of starts. And, I mean, this guy is dangerous, and I think you've seen him. I know, as I said, the last game wasn't his best, but I still think you've seen growth and progress in him, big picture-wise, over the course of the season.
Do you think he's like one of the most underrated in the SEC?
I mean, it depends on how you rate them. I mean, I think everybody respects his ability and talent, so I don't know that I would say he's underrated. Because, I mean, there are a fair number of people who, if you said, okay, which quarterback in the SEC would you take first? If you had unlimited funds and could get anybody in the portal you wanted to start your offense, I think there are a fair number of coaches and fans who would say, well, I'll take the Nussmeier guy at LSU. I mean, he's legit. He's a really, really good player.
What's on real quick, what's on the menu while you're in town?
I don't remember where we're going tonight. I got in later than normal, and apparently I missed one of the great all-time meals at the Supper Club, which I am very sad about, but I will not miss it the next time I come here. I mean, obviously over the years, I love to go to Rufino's. Scott Woodward has taken me to Gino's a couple of times, which is a phenomenal place. So yeah, I don't think you can swing a dead cat without hitting about 12 good places to eat in Baton Rouge. That's for sure. Not that you should swing dead cats. That's a figure of speech. I don't mean it. You should respect cats who are no longer with us. So swing a broomstick.